Okay, we live. We're just waiting for the tag. Oh, there it is. All right, let's do it.
All right. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we good. Everybody good?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we live. Hey, thanks to all my viewers for tuning in with us tonight. The ManUp Series is back. Real people, real talk, real issues. And I would love to, first off, I want to introduce y'all to a very intelligent man. We've been vibing since we talked. I feel like I've been knowing him for years. Dr. Ralph Murphy II. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and then to viewers, I want to let y'all know, to everybody that's also watching the show, we are doing a raffle towards the end of the show, okay? I got my t-shirts up. We got our t-shirts in, the ManUp t-shirts. And also we're going to give out some from our healthcare products too, for you to try out. So make sure you going back and forth with us. All of the viewer interaction is totally appreciated. So yeah, I say let's go ahead, let's jump right into it, all right? Right now, we're dealing with COVID-19, okay? It has changed the landscape of everything we have going on right now, and especially our family lives. And one thing that's really, in which, I mean, it just hit me just a few minutes ago, is the actual e-learning, okay? And the virtual learning for our kids, okay? Now we have to be there for them 100%, okay? And a big thing as a parent, this learning is completely different from how it was when we came up, all right? It ain't nothing that we used to. I did my kids' math the other day, and I didn't know what the heck was going on at all. They do things completely different now. So now it's like we have to literally like re-educate ourselves on what our kids are learning. So we got Dr. Murphy with us tonight. My first question to you is, okay, because I know a lot of parents are intimidated with this, with all, you know, everything, all the homework that the kids got. First off, before we get into it, Dr. Ralph Murphy, sorry about that. Give us a background on your journey and how you came into what you're doing now today.
Well, I'm originally from East Cleveland, Ohio. Graduated out of the old Shaw High School building. Went on to the University of Toledo. Graduated with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Later received a master's of organizational leadership from Lord's. And then about almost 4 or 5 years ago, I completed my doctorate in higher education administration, primarily focusing on being a future university or community college president. In the last 10 years, I've been a program coordinator for Ohio State University. I've been an advisor in Toledo Public School Districts and in Cleveland Public School Districts. I've been on the president's cabinet as a dean of students, and most recently, I was a business faculty member in Illinois Central College. Right now, I'm working as an executive director for the Helen Institute, which is which has now become a global think tank of scholars, man. And we're working on tackling issues like you're talking about. I just got a phone call this evening talking about loss mitigation and teaching and learning online and virtual learning and social emotional learning and emotional intelligence and things of that nature. So that is my wheelhouse currently. I've written, to date, I've written about 10 books. So I have about 10 books published. One of my biggest books, accomplished books thus far is I Hated School Until I Figured It Out. And I wrote a textbook, and then I wrote a workbook, which I'm currently looking at a contract with a school district in California, and they're looking at purchasing about 1,000 books. 1,000 books in California, just to get their students not only motivated to learn, but to keep them on the pathway, keep them on track, but also keep them motivated. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm doing currently right now.
That's awesome.
That's powerful. Yes, sir.
Definitely awesome. So going back to the topic I was talking about, man, what would you say to parents right now that's trying to re-educate themselves and, you know, to help their kids out, especially, I mean, with their homework? What would you say to them to encourage them?
First thing is do not stress. Do not stress.
Mhm.
Right now, I would tell parents right now, and again, some of the stuff I'm going to say is probably going to be things you never heard before. You don't expect to hear from an educator, but I believe in giving you the brute, honest truth and not cutting any corners.
Real
What I
talk.
would tell a parent right now is do not stress out about ensuring that your student gets a 4.0 while they're at home.
Mhm.
Okay. You don't need that stress and they don't need that stress because the communication is off right now because you have to be the teacher and you don't know what you don't know until they put it in front of you.
Mhm.
And now you have to say, man, I ain't learned this when I was in school.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, this y'all using computers and calculators that look like machines. I never seen this before. Okay. That's the first thing is enjoy the process and have fun in this era. Okay. Because what I will share with you is right now, because they're at home, this is probably going to be the most time that you're going to be able to spend with your kids in their learning experience.
Right.
So take control of it and you become the teacher and you help shape their minds and empower them, but have fun. The other thing too is we were just talking about YouTube. I'm a YouTube fanatic.
Right.
Rob Langford, we were just talking about how you can go on YouTube and learn how to fix things. I mean, my shower wasn't working about 3-4 months ago, right?
Right.
And I knew my wife was gonna come home and flip out. I let her see that it wasn't working. I went right to YouTube, learned what to do, slid it in. Man, I was the handyman of the year.
And you saved a lot of money, did you?
Man, what? It was a $10 piece. I figured out how to slide it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So you use YouTube. YouTube is your friend right now.
Yeah.
YouTube, you can put anything in YouTube, and then you can just decipher through it, and you have all type of teachers, professors, and they'll break it down step by step. So use YouTube. That's what I would tell a parent. Go to YouTube.
Right. Don't be ashamed of that, really.
Yeah,
YouTube
and
is
don't
your
be ashamed
friend.
to tell your kids you don't know. Just say, "Hey, I don't know, but we can figure it out together."
Yeah.
Hey, I tell my kids all the time, if it's something I haven't, I have an engineering background, so I've done math. But Khan Academy, that's my best friend, man.
Yes, sir. It'll
You-
get you
Man,
right
you
to
don't remember how to do that? That's all right. I say that's all right. I'm about to go to Khan Academy,
I'm about to look it up. Yep.
and it just refreshed me, But yeah, it should be no shame in utilizing technology. You got to utilize today's technology. It's so much at your fingertips now. You don't have to go and enroll in a class if you don't need to. If you could punch it in and look it up and shoot, you learn, like you just said, you learn it again yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I
That's
think,
what I do with my students, man. Every day. Every day when they come to me with a problem, I don't know. I ain't gonna lie to them. I'll be like, hold on, give me a second.
Exactly.
Like I got it. Let's go.
It should be no shame in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
it's not. But you still got them people to where they need the textbook. In the textbook, in the beginning of the lesson, it'll give you a run through on how to actually do the actual problems.
Right.
And like me too. I'm trust you. I do the same thing. I'm like, where your book at? You know what I mean? Because when I came up, I had to bring all my books home with me. You know what I'm saying? So my book bag made it probably like 3 months before it ripped. You know what I'm saying? But now, like y'all saying, these kids now, there's no more books. Everything is on a computer now. So you're right, man. YouTube is a huge thing, and YouTube will save me out a lot of. It'll save me a lot of money. Put it that way.
Definitely.
So going into it, man, even going off of that, man, because like Dr. Murphy was saying, don't get stressed out because you can. It is very stressful because a lot of parents, they still got jobs, they still got other things going on too, and they don't know what to do, you know, and they don't, like, literally, because like I said, now we're trying to strategize on what we're going to do because they're closing our kids' school down because so many teachers have COVID and they don't have no substitutes or nothing. So, because I know, I know there's a lot of parents out there that relate to that. What would you say to some of the parents, man, that are, having them same issues to where they don't know absolutely what they're going to do in these next few weeks as far as with even how to take care of their kids because their kids are home now? What would you tell them?
Look at the time and create a time schedule. See, it's all about being disciplined because you have students that are going to have to learn how to learn on their own. Okay. They're going to have to learn how to learn on their own. And we're going to have parents that are going to have those discussions with their child and say, hey, I'm going to be honest. Mama dropped out in 10th grade. I was pregnant with you.
Wow.
Daddy dropped out in 11th grade and he went to work. We didn't finish. So I want to help you as best that I can, but I don't want you to be frustrated. And so right now what we have is then that time factor, you have to look at what you missed. And how do you fill that gap? How do you fill that void? You got Netflix, you got YouTube, you got Hulu. And so when your child isn't reading, if they aren't doing homework and they aren't reading books, you have to monitor what they're watching. And so now you have to be creative and you have to put things on the television that they can still learn from. So one of the things that I did when I was teaching business at Illinois Central College, I would always talk about business movies and I would show clips from the business movies that help the students stay in tune with the learning experience. So one of the movies I might put up would be The Big Short. The next movie we might look at may be The Founders and they learn business from the McDonald's store. Then the next movie we might look at maybe the Pixar movie and they learn how you learn how Steve Jobs, when he got fired from Apple, what did he do with his money? He invested in Pixar. Now you have Toy Story and Toy Story 2 and Ants and so on and so forth. So you have to find creative ways to keep them involved. In my book, I wrote about, I hated school, so I figured it out. I wrote about Bill Gates. And we start learning about how your students learn and being able to be comfortable with saying, hey, I got a mathematician in front of me. I don't have a writer. So they may not like to read a lot, but they're good with numbers.
Right.
Put them in front of an Excel, give them an Excel format on the computer and let them play with the numbers. Or you may have someone when you might discover that your child is not really good with the numbers, but they write a lot. Okay, get them a notebook, get them away from the computer, give them a notebook and give them different prompts and things to write about because that is ultimately what they'll do when they get back in school. So we keep them motivated, we keep them encouraged, but we don't try to stifle their learning process by telling them what to learn. We give them the freedom to find how they learn. So that's what I would encourage parents to do is just be open, and then you motivate them, and then they keep going.
Yeah, that's good. I had a student as a jump cut. I had a student that got frustrated because we had to read, but she just got done reading. And the lady that was helping her didn't tell us that she was reading. She didn't communicate with us. So I'm like, all right, we about to get done reading. She threw a fit. Like she got so upset. She started to shut down. And so what I told her, she liked to dance. So I said, all right, look, this is what we're going to do. I want you to relax and just listen to some of your favorite songs. Yeah. And then I start to see her moods change. And when she start dancing, I know she plugged in. But the moment she get angry, upset, frustrated, and throw a fit, I know it's an overload. You know what I'm saying? So like when you were saying be creative, I had to do it with a student and with my daughter at home. When she get overload, it's over with. I'm saying I could be giving her the answer and she know the answer, and now she's talking about all this stuff that ain't there. So being creative is so important. I agree with that one, bro. That's powerful.
Yep, definitely. Hey, Dr. Murphy, so what would you say, and I don't want you to touch on a couple of things. I know we talked about some things before this show, but touch on something real quick. I think people would like to know, what do you think are the connection points for students today? You know, what are those connection points that are, you know, different from, you know, how we came up and learned? Because I know you talked about how you have some thoughts about if you go to college, you know, you're learning all of these different things, right? When you're in school, you're learning all these different things, but when you get out in the world, or even your teachers, they're specialized, right? So tell us what are those connecting points for today's students to really learn and really gather what they need to be successful in life, but also kind of talk to some of those things you mentioned in regards to, you know, just your thoughts on the whole structure for education.
Yeah, you know, I was talking about the specialization as it pertains to how we learn, and then that transition from high school into college when you choose your career.
Right.
And so one of the things I saw, just to simplify it before I dive into that, one of my favorite examples is athletics. Okay, so let's take Tom Brady for instance, right?
Right.
Tom Brady, he's a great quarterback. He has these championship rings, but Tom Brady, when you compare him to Lamar Jackson, they play the same position,
Right.
but they do two different things to be great, right?
Right.
Tom Brady had never run a 4.3 40-yard dash.
Right.
But he can read the defense and he's great, right?
Right.
So then let's go to another. You know, I like to use, let's take Shaquille O'Neal, okay, in basketball. Back in Shaq day, he never see Shaquille O'Neal shoot 3-point jump shot.
Right. Right.
You never see him do fadeaways, right?
Right.
But he could block shots and he could dunk. That was his greatness. So then when we get into the education piece, as I talk about how they learn, if a kid can write, let them go ahead and be a writer. If they're good in math, let them go into math. If they're good in computers, let them go into computers. And I talk about that in my book, I Hated School Till I Figured It Out. And I broke it down by people we know. Bill Gates. Bill Gates he didn't need to go to college to learn how to program computers. He went to Harvard for the connections. He had started programming computers in 7th grade.
Wow.
That he wasn't fascinated with writing long papers. His whole ordeal was computers. Okay, look at him today.
Yep.
So now we talk about. I watched the movie Hidden Figures. Everybody familiar with Katherine Johnson?
Yeah.
Katherine Johnson. You never heard about Katherine Johnson writing 20-page papers, 40-page papers, right?
Right.
She was good with numbers. It was said that Katherine Johnson, from her adolescent years, would count everything in sight. So when you hear the term her being a human computer, she had already had years of programming. So now we fast forward to the conversation we had as it pertains to college careers. When we get into that career pathway, there's a skill that is necessary that helps you be successful.
Right.
And that skill right now is being matured in that K through 12 arena. So when people say, oh, you know, high school doesn't prepare you for college, in all actuality, yes, it does. Because once you graduate from high school, you go into a major.
Right.
And that major is what helps you be successful. So that's what we were talking about as it pertains to that pathway and education from the K through 12 through college. So right now, if I'm a parent, my daughter, she's 2 years old, but let's say 10, 12 years from now, she's 14, 15 years old. Once she gets into that mold, I want to focus on what she's great at, what she likes, and begin to expose her to as many things that's going to motivate her to learn on her own in that pathway. And then that's how you be able to keep our students successful. And then we kind of lower that percentage of the loss mitigation of learning, because we know right now, learning at home on a computer, they're losing a whole lot of information.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. So what would you say to a lot of youth right now that, you know, they're really not motivated at all about school, college, vision, nothing. And they just want to play sports, but they don't want to master, going to school. What would you say to a group, audience that like, hey, I'm good at running, I'm fast, I got the body for it, but they don't know about the academics part that actually allows them to get in that arena?
Well, we have to break it down into sections. So as a former athlete myself, I'm playing basketball, I'm playing football, and I'm running track because that's the only thing that I can do where I don't have to think about my living situation. I don't have to think about how poor I am. I don't have to think about, the disruptions that's happening in my house. So that right there alone is keeping me focused in the classroom. So right now we're having an ordeal with the COVID where I just read that the Ivy League schools, they're canceling their basketball season. Ivy League school canceling the basketball season, that's not so much of a big deal. But now we get into Ohio State or you get into Duke or any of these other places where you have kids that are going or play high school sports, going to college, primarily go to the NFL or NBA, then you're going to have a problem because we never really talk to them about why education is important. You go to college to get a degree to make money. We don't really talk about the information piece. We don't really talk about why learning is important. Like, for instance, the older I get, the more I learn, the more I'm more health conscious, the more I pay attention to my surroundings, the more I'm more conscientious of my conversations. See, when we remove the money piece to education and why it's important, then they'll have something to rely on. But until we do that, we're going to continue to have problems.
Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
Definitely right on that, man. Because I know coming up, man. I was around a lot of athletes. It was just football and basketball, and that was it. And then they mess around in school like it's just like that ain't part of the equation or something. You know what I'm saying?
Because it doesn't bring. See, education is a delayed gratification. It's not instant.
Correct.
Basketball, football, track, people see me. I'm getting praised like I'm good at this. But even more importantly, I enjoy doing it.
Right.
It takes a lot of discipline to sit in the room and read 25 to 30 pages at a time and then know what you're reading without zoning out.
Exactly.
Because the reality is boring. I didn't enjoy learning, man. I didn't get like this overnight. It took some time. It took a lot of time, but it's the isolation piece, which is why this virtual learning is very important, because at the isolation piece is going to make or break a lot of students.
Yep. And that brings me back to a point you made earlier. I don't know if we do this enough in our community. You said exposing your kid to what they are good at. There are some things that I know every parent, guardian, whatever, notices in their kid. You know what I mean? But I don't know if we do a good enough job explaining to them, like, there are opportunities if you want to do say they're good at art, exposing them to classes at the art museum, and this is, and I'm speaking firsthand because that's what I did. My mom exposed me because my grandfather was an artist, my mom was an artist. I was good at drawing, so my mom started taking me to classes at the art museum on Saturdays when I was free. I played a lot of sports, but when it was free time, I would go do that, or she would get me into some math and science camps or something like that. So I don't know if we do that enough in our communities to say, hey, my kid can also be good at X, Y, and Z, because not only can they run fast and jump high, everybody got something up here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're good at something if we invest in it. You know what I mean? So I don't know if we do that enough in our community. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, that goes back to a very interpersonal conversation I continue to have with myself.
Mm-hmm.
In the Black community, you can be, and this is family wise, you can have somebody who has money, you can be somebody who's beautiful, you can have the hustler, you can have the rapper, you can have the athlete.
Right.
But what we don't do enough is promoting and saying this person is the most intelligent right now.
Right.
Let's push this person. We don't make the Keela and the B
Right.
example at the
Right.
forefront of our community. Whereas other communities is, you go to the Jewish community, what do they say? Oh, we got to go get the Jewish lawyer.
Mhm.
Yep.
You know, you go to, I've been at Case Western Reserve, I was going on tour, and you hear the African kids coming from Ghana, from Somalia, and they're coming to America to be a doctor.
Right. That's the focus.
You know, their focus is, so the Jewish community is lawyer, African community is doctor, Black community is athlete, is rapper.
Heavy.
And the few that make it out of that circle become ostracized because it's like, how did you do it? But you did it going to the same poor school system that they went to. So what was the difference?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that we talk about continuously in the Helen Institute is, what's the difference? What's that factor? Is it bigger than Malcolm Gladwell's outlier proposal? What else is it? And so that's a ever evolving question.
Man.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I definitely think we need to do that. We need to do more of exposing our kids to the things that are well rounded. Now, I'm a proponent of athletics. Don't get me wrong, because there are a lot of lessons that you learn from athletics. But you know, I think we also need to promote you can own a team. You can be in the front office. You know, there are different ways. You know, you can be in the marketing or whatever. So it's different aspects as well. So.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, Rob, I done heard you say this too, man. I know because we coached together this past fall, you know, with football. Sports is just a vehicle to get where we got to go, man. It's not to say in and say all of success. It's just a vehicle. You know, it allows you to go to school. It allows you to go to college and further beyond, and you learn the life lessons in the meantime. But academics is what's going to academics is the foundation, period. You know.
That's right.
It is, man.
Because if I tweak my knee,
it's a wrap.
Right there.
Yep. All it takes
still
is
got
one.
this, though. I can still do that.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we need to promote that more and more and more.
Yeah, that's
hey. So Dr. Murphy, you know, I love your book. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, you know, just kind of give us a synopsis of what the book talks about, because you just mentioned it took you a while to get to where you at. So I assume, you know, that some of that went behind writing that book. You know, tell us a little bit about the book. I hated high school until I figured it out.
I hated school.
I'm sorry.
I hated school. I hated everything about school. And that's very tabooish to say. Again, me being an educator, they say, "Oh man, you got a doctorate degree. How you hate school?"
Right.
Well, school is, like you say, is a vehicle. And a lot of people don't know, like I say, in the book, I start off with my 6th grade experience. I was in honors classes. At the beginning of my 6th grade year, the teacher quit. So for about 3 or 4 months, we had substitutes. So I was actually behind my whole class. And they thank God, you know, I had a lot of, today there's a lot of prominent people that was in school with, they're doing great things. They're nurse practitioners, they're businessmen, businesswomen, lawyers, doctors, etc. But we were actually behind it. We were supposed to be the cream of the crop of that school. Then, you know, I transitioned and I talk about, you know, my 7th grade, 8th grade year, what that looks like, growing up in the neighborhood where I could step outside and at any given time and somebody could ask me, say, hey man, I got $50 for whatever you got in your pocket. I don't sell drugs. I just live up here. You know, yeah. I don't do that. I'm here. That's my environment. But, you know, I got to learn how to navigate that. At the same time, I get to high school. This is around 2000, 2004. The housing market crashed. My mother gets laid off. She gets divorced. Like, I'm going through all these different things. My high school teachers go on strike. So this is all before I even get to college.
Right.
You know, so then when I get to college, one of the things that I'm proud of to this day is coming from a city in East Cleveland where it's predominantly Black, I was adamant about having a white roommate. So I wanted to know what was it real? Are all white people racist? Like, how does this thing work? And to my avail, that was a great experience for me. My guy Matt Williams, never forget him. We had a great year. I learned a lot, but I was poor. Went to college with a duffel bag and 2 pair of shoes. And the one thing that sustained me throughout my book, and I talk about the mentorship, is that college is bigger than education. It's a way of life. You learn who you are. You learn what you like. You learn your eating habits. You learn how to work out, how to read and write on your own. You go to work, you go to class, you have a relationship. And that was the basics of the book where I came up with the formula, positively embrace moments directly affecting success, which is changing the PEMDAS mathematical equation using numbers, replacing it with learning concepts. So I hate this going until I figured it out was my best work to date because it means the most to me right now.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, I relate a lot to that, Dr. Murphy, because when I went to college, man, it was just like everybody was like, peace, you know what I'm saying? And I'm on a whole nother side of the state, so I ain't got no resources, you know what I'm saying? But like you said, it wasn't just like, you know, the papers, it was more just like figuring out, you know, first off, I wanted stability. So what does that mean for me? I have to be responsible. I have to take care of business. And the one thing that my football coach always taught us, it was PMA, which is positive mental attitude. And at the time, I had no idea what it meant. I'm just like, you know, whatever, you know, it's just another logo that one of the coaches got. But as I kept going through school, I started to see, once I became more positive in what I was doing and understood that we're all going to be dealt with adversity, period. Everything's not going to go our way. It's not going to happen. You know, there's going to be times where you might have no money in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So let's figure this out, you know, and what it was for me was I had to know what I had to do, you know, and this is me. I'm talking about I was young, man. I had no, you know, my parents, like I said, my parents didn't go to college. They had no college background. They couldn't understand what I was going through at all, you know. So college taught me that I had to refocus and understand what I needed to do, you know what I mean? And it wasn't just, like I said, it wasn't the papers and, you know, it wasn't even football, man. It was more just learning how to survive and knowing the life that I wanted once I got out of school, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
I definitely relate to you on that end. Definitely, man.
Yeah. I didn't even for college, I didn't go right out of high school. I just wanted to dance, right? And a lot of things didn't click for me, honestly, until I literally had like kids and a wife. Like, so my college thing was I went to a college that was I could do it online. I couldn't go. I'd never been inside nobody's classroom sitting down. That didn't work for me. I had to be able to move around or go to the coffee shop and sit down and things like that. But in high school and college was two different experiences for me. In high school, I couldn't sit long enough in class until I figured out I had to go dance. I had to go I had to move. And so that once I figured that out and just had a recent conversation with my mom, I'm like, man, a light bulb went off. Like, I can do this. So it was like a focus that I had to get because now I have a wife. Now I got kids. So my focus went to a whole nother level. And I'm like, man, I was so zoned in. I mean, like, we'd be together and I'm working. I'm like, they like, dude, you're going to take a break? Not till I'm done. So what I learned in college was, Clarence, as long as you focus and block out everything else, you good. Cause I was on top of it. Like I was on top. But in high school, oh man, I was everywhere, everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's totally
amazing. It's amazing what that maturity will do.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Because now
sir.
you got different goals, right? You got. There's different meanings in your life. Like you said, you had kids. You got kids now.
Yeah.
You got a different perspective on life.
Yep.
Definitely.
Man, that's awesome.
It is. So now let's transition into I know we talked about our kids a lot, and as far as what we need to do for them. But now us being examples for our kids, and I think one of the biggest examples, that I pretty much experienced was being an entrepreneur. That's something that a lot of kids aren't taught in school. They're not taught how to be businessmen. They're not taught how to be successful, be consistent. That's things that's not taught in school. So us being entrepreneurs, we have to let our kids know. And like Dr. Ralph Murphy said, you said something that really it stuck with me. We're not being entrepreneurs for ourselves. We're being entrepreneurs for our kids. And that means a lot, because a lot of people, think it's for them, and what they do is,
They can get.
Yeah, and they forget, the whole grand scheme of it. The whole grand scheme of being an entrepreneur is a legacy, man. It's something to leave for your kids.
Yeah.
So
because
Dr.
I'm sorry, Michael. But go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Rob.
I'm getting hyped, man.
Go ahead.
I think the biggest part of it is because we don't. And again, I talk a lot in our communities, but we just don't grasp generational wealth, man. I think there's a gap there, and we don't understand what generational wealth means. A lot of times we even think wealth is, things, but if I can amass something that I can pass down from generation to generation to generation, okay, now I'm doing something. And that's all that other communities do. They built something, right, that they can say, all right, my son's name is Noah. All right, Noah, now it's your time. Take it, put your spin on it. You know what I mean? You go and do what you need to do. And to Dr. Murphy's point, some of those kids in that Jewish community, they may have gone to school for a moment, and then they're gonna come back and they're gonna get the family business and use that education that they just got, and now they're gonna make that business better. and it builds more. You know what I'm saying? So that just made me think of that, man. That's awesome. So I know Dr. Murphy, that's something that you are, establishing for your little girl, and more. You're gonna have more.
Hey, if it be God's will.
But yeah, I mean, and knowing that you were in education, you had you wanted to be the president of the school. So tell us a little bit about how you transitioned and changed into, entrepreneurship, and how that's really catapulted you into, operating differently.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I've been fortunate to do is complete my schooling so early. Yep. So it has afforded me opportunities, one, to travel across the country. So I want to say that first, as we talk about education and business, okay? Does Education, does the K through 12 teach you business? Not necessarily, but what it does is you, if you go back to PACE and how you learn, it makes you aware of your skill, and your skill can then transition into your business. As we saw with Bill Gates. Bill Gates, he went to Harvard and left Harvard. And I keep going back to computers because right now we're in a virtual time. Bill Gates, he didn't go to Harvard. I argue this a lot. He didn't go to Harvard to get a degree to learn how to program computers. That's the skill he had over 5 years. He went to Harvard for the connections. He ended up leaving Harvard and going back to Washington and finding Microsoft. So that's how he got so big. But again, when we talk about skill set in business entrepreneurship, what I've been able to do is leverage my experiences as a dean of students, as a college advisor, things that I've done over years in perfecting reading and writing. And say, I just got a call today from one of my good friends, say, hey man, I need some help writing a speech. All right, tell me what we need, what we got to do. Okay, bam, bam, bam. I get it to you in 20 minutes, 3 paragraphs, 20 minutes. Here you go. Okay. I just, again, got off a phone call with the Helen Institute. We talk about skills and entrepreneurship, using your skills to create your business. So by me being very good at reading and writing, I'm able to leverage that skill. I can write a book in a week. I can write a book in 2 weeks, depending on what's happening and what I need to do to expand my business. But when we talk about on the larger scheme is the African-American community, Black community, is not as big because generational wealth is a larger part of 2-parent households. So I am able to do what I'm able to do because of my wife and me being home and having the time. If you don't have the time to do it, it's not going to work, because what we have is a plethora of first-time entrepreneurs who believe that they're going to make $1 million as soon as they create an idea, as soon as they create a product. But they don't understand the longevity of, hey, you might make $1,000 1 month, 2 or 3 months, you might not make no money. Then that 5th month, you might get a contract for $50,000. But it's that waiting period that's important for business. And I think that's what we don't teach enough of. It's the consistency.
Yep. Consistency, and you make a very good point that the wait, you know, we don't like to wait for things. Like you said,
Boy,
because a lot of times just that waiting builds the character, builds the understanding, the bumps, the bruises, the ups and downs, you learning, and then you know, it'll happen. If you just hold on, right? If you just hold on, that breakthrough is coming. But a lot of times, you know, most of us give up before that happens because we didn't get it immediately. Like you said.
I mean, you look at Amazon. Amazon, he had that, Bezos had that idea in 1994. So that Amazon, and Amazon wasn't the initial thought process of what we see today.
Oh no, it was books. It was selling books. Where was it at? I think it was just out of his home or something. I can't remember what it was.
So a lot of these businesses start in the home. They don't have these major offices. You know, Walmart was one store for 7 years.
Yeah.
For 7 years, Walmart was one store, and then they began to expand and grow. And so again, we talk about that consistency of our people being comfortable with knowing, hey, this year I may only make 5,000. The next year I might make 15. I mean, it continues to grow, but it's that consistency and knowing eventually I may get to that $100,000, $200,000 a year mark in the business. And that's the hard part.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I think so many people got fears of being an entrepreneur too. You know, I seen something today. I came across a quote by Zig Ziglar. Fear has 2 meanings. All right, forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours. So many times, like we were just saying, you know, a lot of people, you know, they want the instant gratification. They want to be successful right away. But they don't want to put in the work. You know what I mean? They don't want to put in the extra work outside of what you got going on. You know, I hear so many people tell me, oh, I don't got time to do this. Oh, I don't got time to do that. But if you really want something, you're going to make time for it. So I just think the whole aspect of fear, people got to get over fear. And in order to change, you got to be willing to change. You can't do the same thing you did last year and expect results. That's the definition of insanity. You know, you can't expect these things to change when you're not actually changing yourself. So I just think people need to overcome the whole aspect of fear and just jump in and be consistent, man.
Yeah, I just got a book on fear. Like I got a book on overcoming fear, because I know fear is real, man. It's like most of the time is we afraid of like grabbing hold of something and making it a reality. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I have a whole lot of ideas. My wife like, can you focus, please? Like, what are you doing? You just said the other day you want to do this. Now you, and so most of the times, like for real, honestly, fear is real big. But I have to like center myself, and I have to like really bring my raw fears to God. Like, yo, man, this is what I'm afraid of. And it's in my meditating times, or I might have a confidant, somebody I can like share my ugly fear with. And, you know, when they share their light on it and be like, bro, it ain't even fear. It's just, you got to get over that. Right. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, either you going to rise to the occasion or you going to stay there and die, literally. You know, fear will the life out you. So,
hey, and Clarence, that's good stuff, man, too, because you acknowledging it is the biggest part of what you did. You know what I'm saying? And fessing up to it, because a lot of times we don't want to do that. You know, we got it all together. You know, I don't have no fears. I got this all figured out. No, let's be real. Let's be real and own up to it. And now you're able to conquer it because, or embrace it because you've acknowledged, okay, yeah, I do have this fear and I do have these shortcomings. But I'm also strong over here. So, you know, maybe I need to put these people around me to help me where I come short. You know, it's all in acknowledging, you know what I'm saying? Making sure. So that's powerful, Clarence. Definitely.
Yes, sir.
And then I'm gonna add one more thing too, man. I think surrounding yourself with successful people is a must too, man. You got to be willing to. You can't stay around the same people that ain't doing nothing. You know, we're an average of 5 people that's around us. You know, we around people that ain't doing nothing. Guess what? We're not going to do nothing too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and that's why I love this show so much, because I love going back and forth with successful people, man, because I love getting knowledge from them, man. I do all the time. I love talking to somebody that's way more successful than me, because I want to know what did you do to get where you got, you know, what did you do? How did you manage it? You know what I'm saying? And I honestly, man, I think surrounding yourself with successful people is a great thing to do. You got to do it.
You're right.
That's why I say college is so important, man. And I argue this a lot. You know, in today's society, you're not going to college simply for the degree. You're going to college to meet people.
Right.
You're going to college to build that network. And it's bigger than fraternities and sororities. It's people all across the board. You know, I just was thinking about a couple of good friends of mine that just shouted me out, you know, via Facebook that I met from college. Shout out to Todd, you know, shout out to Wortman. I remember walking through McComas Village and meeting these people and creating relationships with them. You know, these type of things help you on the bigger stage in the long run. And if you don't have a great network, then you're going to be running in place a lot. And that's the key to business. When I launched my book, when I first launched I Hated School Until I Figured It Out, it was my connections through college that helped me push the book out.
Nice.
It was those individuals, those type of friendships that helped me get my business venture moved. And that's where it starts.
It's funny you say that too, because Dr. Murphy, when I see pictures of you shaking hands with professors and different people, man, I smile. I smile because I know that's another connection that you made. You know what I mean? That's another relationship that you've built for someone to be an advocate for you, somebody to to speak on your behalf, you to get some knowledge from it. It may be for a moment, you know what I mean? But it makes me proud, man. It makes me happy to see that, you know. I just wanted to share that with you because when you show that, I'm like, yeah, man, I'm happy.
My man.
Definitely.
Connection, yes, sir. That's what I started doing where I work at.
Uh-huh.
Work at a school. I'm not in the position I want to be in just yet. And even this week, if I'll be honest, man, I was ready to walk away from school, from working at the school. But it was the conversations that I was kind of having with other people that's kind of like higher up. And it was just certain things that they're, saying and planting. But I'm trying to be patient because I know where my heart is, you know what I'm saying? And I want to help youth overcome their dysfunction. And you know what I'm saying? I had an idea about being a dean, but they won't put me in the position just yet. You know what I'm saying? But if I can't do it in the system, I'm gonna build something and go back into the system. Because if someone like my face don't go back in, our kids, when I say our kids, I'm talking about our black kids, they just gonna sink, and I can't let that happen. So thought I'd share that just because that's just a real moment this
My
week,
man.
you know. So
Definitely.
like you
But,
said
hey,
about connections, yes, sir. So that's what I'm
man,
working.
that bring me back to something I posted, 2 weeks, no, about a week ago. Okay. For me personally, because I moved a lot. Like I've been in Cleveland, I've been in Oregon, I've been in Illinois. Uh, I consider moving again sometimes. And it's simply because at some point we have to learn the difference between being patient and wasting time. And I say that because I just came to me the other night. You have to learn the difference between being patient and wasting time because the same people that will tell you to be patient are the same people that will tell you tomorrow's not promised.
That's right.
Wow.
So you have to learn how to navigate and be able to make a decision, stand on that decision, be firm in that decision, and then be prepared for whatever comes with it.
Yep. Be in control, really, what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% of the time, 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great.
So we coming up on the
Yeah, that's
hour
powerful.
of the show. Want to get some last closing statements from everybody. Dr. Murphy, give us some. Let us know what you got going on in the near future that people should know about.
Well, right now with the Helen Institute, so the Helen, I'm executive director of Emerging Leadership Program, which is for K through 12 and higher education students, and we're putting together some professional developments for for teachers, across the country. Like I said, this is a major national think tank. You have higher education professors, deans, K through 12 superintendents. So I'm doing that, and there's 2 books that'll be coming out here shortly. The ABCs of Education, an American Imperative. And then one of my personal favorites is The Great Reckoning, which is talking about what do we do now that the marching has stopped us. We have elected a new president. We're coming up January 20th. So what are we going to do in that gap space? And that's what I'm looking forward to. That'll be coming out in the next couple, I want to say about the first of the year.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's a great point, man.
It is.
I was just thinking about that today too, Brandon. I was like, well, I wish people keep that same energy.
Gotta keep that same energy, man.
Keep
We
that
gotta get this
same energy.
policy change.
We have not arrived just because the president has changed.
No, not at all. Still got work to do.
Yeah.
Still got work to do.
Still got work.
That's it.
All right, Clarence, you got any closing remarks?
Well, I guess I would just say, just be prepared, man. Anybody that's watching, just be prepared for change. As you change, just adapt. Take your time, get yourself still long enough to hear clearly, and whatever you need to do to make that decision, do it, because you don't waste your time, man. Time is valuable. You only got one life to live. Let's live it to the fullest.
Mm-hmm. Man. All right. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of what we heard today is education, man.
Okay.
It's really it's the thing that it comes through after everything else has passed away. you know, your education is going to stand strong.
Mhm.
So I just encourage everybody out there, you know, and we talked about it before the show. It's not necessarily a traditional education. Yes, you wanna expose yourself to build those relationships, but you know we got a lot of things at our fingertips, right?
Mhm.
Um, do not hesitate to educate yourself. Don't always use certain things as you know that's fact, but you know make sure that you're out here um, promoting education,
Mhm.
encouraging your youth that are around you. If you don't have kids, encourage the young people that are around you to educate themselves and take it seriously. Because I've always said and been a big proponent, my mom always told me, you educate yourself, you're always going to have a lot of options.
Mhm.
So I want to have as many options available to me because now I'm able to be in more control if I got more options.
Mhm.
If I'm pushed in one direction, I don't really have a lot of control because I gotta do something. I gotta do something, right? I gotta go that direction in order to try to make things happen. So I've tried to educate myself as much as I can, so I do have those options in front of me. And then other people, uh, you know, can't pull the wool over your eyes in a lot of situations. So I just say more so make sure you're educating yourself and promote education around those that are attached to you as well.
Yeah, you're definitely right on that, Rob. You know, educating ourselves, that's never going to work. It's always going to be an ongoing thing. That's never going to stop, you know. And right now, we're forced to actually start educating ourselves, you know, because we got to be able to educate our kids, man. And at the same token, too, being entrepreneurs, we got to be a example for our kids at the same time, too. So the work is never going to stop. It's always going to be ongoing. And then, like Dr. Murphy said, we're doing this not for us. We're doing this for our kids, and and it means a lot, you know, by saying that speaks volumes because, like I said, we're not gonna be here forever.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna be in this world forever at all. So it's time to now start investing in our kids, so that way, you know, we can create generational wealth and keep this ball rolling, man. So, but first off, I want to thank Dr. Murphy for being on the show. I truly appreciate you being on there, taking your night out. You know, I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate you being on the
Man,
show.
thank y'all, man. This was refreshing, man. I needed this conversation.
Yeah.
Man, we love it. We love it.
We appreciate
Definitely.
you. And now I wanna announce the winner of the t-shirt. All right. I'm gonna go with Kevin Fletcher. All right, Kevin Fletcher. Got you a
Oh,
shirt
that's my
coming, man.
club.
Yeah, got you a shirt coming, man. I got some products for you to try out too. So once this
Oh
ends,
yeah, yeah.
matter of fact, Kevin, I'm gonna send you a friend request, and then we'll go from there. I'll get your information. And Dr. Murphy too, I'm gonna send you a shirt also too. So that way I gotta see a picture with you with a shirt on, man. I gotta see that.
Right.
Hey, man, I got y'all, and I'm ordering some books. You know, Amazon is backed up right now, but I
Yeah.
got some books, some signed books coming.
Okay.
Making sure I get them out to Rob and y'all here shortly. So
Okay.
I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
Definitely. I
Sure.
appreciate you
Well,
too.
hey,
Appreciate
before
y'all.
we go, Dr. Murphy, where can everybody find you?
I'm most active on Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram at dr_rm2. So Dr_rm2, and on Facebook, Ralph Murphy. Okay. Yep. And any questions or anything, if I can help point you in the right direction, please hit me up, let me know, and I'll make sure I keep you rolling.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I appreciate that too. And then one more last thing, I want to let everybody know too. We got we're doing a little program right now. We're trying to get it situated with the ultimate level, and then the ManUp Series too. Right now, we're trying to feed a few families, man, this year for Thanksgiving. You know, and we all, like I said, any viewers, you know, all donations is appreciated. And even if you don't got donations, send us some contacts of people that may need some assistance, man. We want to help out some families for this Thanksgiving.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, viewers, I want to thank y'all for being on the show tonight. Like once again, I want to thank Dr. Murphy for being on the show with us. Like I said, this is a powerful show. Make sure if you haven't seen it, make sure you go back and watch it again. Like I said, it's a powerful show. So once again, this is the Man Up series, real people, real talk, real issues. Y'all have a good night.
My man.
Yep. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.